howdy, fellow movie watchers, and welcome back to another edition of the Wisco Movie Watchers Podcast, brought to you by PTV Creative, where you can get some ridiculous movie recommendations or just straight commentary. Here, as always, we are your hosts, Evan Davies, and our favorite Oscar expert, Dylan Davies, because we're going back into his wheelhouse once again. We're covering the Oscars as we did a couple weeks ago on the show for our viewers and listeners. Last time we covered the movies of 1994 to 1999. We're all building towards the big ceremony that's going to happen early March. So we have a nice even 25 years. Today, on this show, it's Oscars 1999 to 2003, movies released in this time. Apparently there's a lot of controversy to talk about. I found some other controversies that just are ridiculous and really look like ugly America, so we're going to have some fun here.
Okay, sure.
We'll begin in 1999 to set the scene. Go ahead.
Just 1 second. I just had a follow-up from last episode.
Yep.
So just on the Oscar voting process.
Yes, okay, thank you for clarifying this before we get going.
So just for this process, it's each person belongs to one of 17 branches. And each branch nominates for its own category. So you have editors for the editing categories, you have Oscar actors in the acting categories, costumers in the costume design, stuff like that.
Okay.
They all nominate for their own category.
Sure.
And then everyone gets to nominate for Best Picture. And then for the final voting of the winners, all branches get to vote for everything.
So nominees are from the branches, winners, everyone gets to vote.
Yes.
That's okay. It's a choice.
And then some some members complain that 10 nominees for Best Picture would kind of like dilute the prestige, I guess, of being a Best Picture nominee when there's only 5.
Interesting.
So the Academy made it a flexible thing, so it could have anywhere from 5 to 10 nominations. Everyone gets a ballot and ranks their top choices for Best Picture. According to the new rules, a film has to get 5% of first place votes to qualify.
Okay.
To get a Best Picture nomination.
Repeat that for me again, I'm sorry.
Okay. So, everyone gets a ballot, and they rank their top choices for Best Picture.
Okay.
And according to the new rules, a film has to get at least 5% of the top choice of those ballots to get a nomination for Best Picture.
Okay, so they need a certain threshold for first place, but then it's still ranked choice voting besides that.
Yes.
Okay, that's at least somewhat fucking logical.
Yeah. That made a lot more sense to me because I was like, okay, at least that explains the flexibility aspect, because there are years where there's 8, and then some years where there's 9, and then some years where there's 10.
Yeah.
So that makes sense finally, where it's like, okay, finally I got some clarification on that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I followed up on was the whole Harvey Weinstein and Miramax aspect of it, the meddling. So this is from Oscar Wars. It's a book I read a couple months ago. It's by Michael Schumann. So this is what he says. I'll just read it quote for quote. Miramax left no vote unturned, calling Academy members to check they'd receive VHS copies of a film, setting up special screenings, including in a retirement home for Academy members,
Jesus
and wheeling out their talent out at lunches, panels, and parties to schmooze with voters. Things reached a head when word spread that Weinstein was secretly bad-mouthing Saving Private Ryan to journalists, trying to plant the idea that the film trailed off after the first 25 minutes. This kind of negative campaigning was a huge no-no in the Oscars race. Every studio now felt that they needed to run a Miramax-style campaign. So now everyone in Hollywood was trying to out-campaign each other and hiring a battalion of campaign strategists.
Which is
So
something
they
we
pretty much,
still kind of see today.
yeah, so they pretty much just kind of turned it into a political campaign almost,
Dude,
where they're not afraid to get ugly.
even when he's not doing, beyond the obvious is the real reason that he's an evil piece of shit. Even when it comes to art, he has to fuck that up for everybody.
Yeah.
What a piece of
Well,
trash.
he was like, he's been very, very honest about the fact that he was like obsessed with the fact that he wanted to win Oscars.
Which is so sad because I'm looking through a lot of movies that are very popular and very good over this 5-year period. A ton of them are Miramax. He's got Tarantino in his wheelhouse. He's got Mendes in his wheelhouse. He's got a lot of people in his wheelhouse that are Oscar quality people. Eventually, you're going to break through and you're going to get one.
I know. He's an idiot. He's just, he can realize talent but not be talented himself.
Yeah, it's kind of a Hollywood thing in its finest.
Yeah, that's very true.
And on that wonderful note, we'll move into 1999.
Yep.
Now, set the scene for you. 1999. A lot of the popular movies of the time. Fight Club. The Matrix completely revolutionizes how we see film in a lot of ways, including the visual effects that we see commonplace now, which also includes Star Wars The Phantom Menace in that, which is the biggest box office to possibly have the biggest return of viewers whatsoever in this time. However, we get great movies like Toy Story 2, Iron Giant comes out in this one. One of your personal favorites, The Mummy, is a summertime favorite during this time frame. And then we also get some revolutionary stuff such as the Blair Witch Project, and then things that just capture the imagination or the zeitgeist at the time, like Sixth Sense. We also see the final Stanley Kubrick movie in Eyes Wide Shut. So it's a very interesting time in Hollywood because you're starting to see a lot of really weird different stuff all pop up in a mainstream fashion in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. And just a couple things about couple tidbits about the actual ceremony itself. I just wrote down a couple. Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the creators of South Park.
Yep.
They came dressed as Gwyneth Paltrow and J-Lo, dressed as their famous dresses, the pink and green dresses that they became famous for wearing.
It's the most important red carpet moment in Oscars history. Is those two just being a bunch of pricks.
It is a glorious picture when you see it. It's so funny.
I respect it to no end. It's genius on their part. But they're genius. That's what they do. You know?
And then apparently all the major awards were pretty much a foregone conclusion. The only close race apparently was Best Actor between Kevin Spacey and Denzel for The Hurricane. So
I was gonna say this is the period where Denzel goes from whoa, he's a star to anything Denzel touches in this period is gold. Like 99 to 2003, I'm looking at the movies he's in, and even if they're not nominated for stuff, you still go, God damn it, Denzel Washington's good. You just you have to.
I mean,
you have to be impressed.
He's been good since the mid '80s, yeah.
Yeah, but it's this period where he also starts getting a few more popular movies that are being taken seriously a little bit more by the general public. You know, Remember the Titans is in here, which is obviously a huge fan favorite. John Q is in here. Training Day, we're going to talk about in a little bit. This is the time frame in which Denzel Washington goes from, oh, he's a movie star too. That's a household name that everyone needs to know because he's great. At least in my opinion, watching these. I do have a few minor tweaks to
the technical categories.
Some of the technical categories and some of the things I thought were just maybe not egregious, but I thought deserved a little bit more recognition. I'll start with costume design. That's one by Topsy Turvy, which is, again,
Sure.
classic Oscars period piece about a musical. It's very different. I'm not taking that away from the movie. Sleepy Hollow is also nominated. I would have gone with Sleepy Hollow as opposed to Topsy Turvy. I went and watched some footage of Topsy Turvy before doing this. All due respect, because the
Hmm.
costuming is great in Topsy Turvy. I'm not shitting on the costuming whatsoever.
There.
I just
Yeah.
think one of the things that costumes never get enough credit for in some of these categories is showing the character depth that can be brought just by costuming. And I think the character depth that's given by even costuming in Sleepy Hollow gives the nod for me over Topsy Turvy. Does that make sense? Like when you like they perfectly
Sure.
encapsulate Ichabod Crane, they perfectly encapsulate Katrina, which is played by Christina Ricci. Miranda Richardson's character, every costume she's in just screams her
Hmm.
character, and then Christopher Walken as the Headless Horseman is a fucking vibe in a costume. Uh,
Yeah.
I just think they do a really good job portraying character with their costumes and being grand, big period pieces. Whereas Topsy Turvy does a little bit more of a, hey, these costumes are for show, but they don't necessarily like
Yeah.
tell a lot of
I
character work.
had Sleepy Hollow won over Topsy Turvy, I'd have no problem with it.
Yeah,
But I also have no problem with Topsy Turvy winning because it is that's a really like gorgeous movie to look at. I don't
yes,
love it that much just to watch as a movie, but there's a lot of like cool art to it.
I do have Sleepy Hollow, but understand Topsy Turvy. That's not one where I'm like pitch.
Yeah.
I'm
Sure.
not pitchforks. This is bullshit. Another one, I think maybe not entirely. I don't think it deserves to win, but just for the innovations it's doing in changing how movies on a wide scale are presented, I think a nomination for Blair Witch Project for cinematography might be worthwhile because it totally sets the vibe of the
Sure.
film. It's not necessarily that I think it's
I
the greatest cinematography of all time. I don't think that at all. But I
no.
think the way it's
Yeah.
presented through cinematography really sets up the tone of that movie to make it a cultural icon at the time.
Yeah. I understand that, but you would never get the cinematographers in the Academy
To do that.
to vote for that
Yeah.
because that movie is like such a shoestring budget that like there's a reason that it looks the way it does.
Yes.
So, but I understand it. It is very significant too. Yeah.
And then the other one that goes a little bit away from the technical categories, adapted screenplay. Fight Club doesn't even get a nomination, and that's ridiculous.
I actually went a different route with adapted screenplay. I said I would have picked Election to
Okay.
win over the Cider House Rules.
Okay.
Um, I actually like the Cider House Rules more than most people. It seems a lot of people who just view that as like Miramax Oscar bait movie, really,
It seems to
because
do.
it,
It
it
seems
is
to be what they do at the time.
yeah, it is like very very saccharine, like sentimentality to the max,
Okay.
and it's I enjoy it, but um, I understand why people don't enjoy it all that much. But Election, I just feel the writing in there is so good, and there's like four different narrations, and all of them are unreliable, so it's just so much fun.
Yeah. It's certainly interesting. I just to see adapted screenplay with no Fight Club in it is
Uh huh.
ridiculous.
Sure.
I mean, granted, the status of that movie that's far more of a cult classic than I even realized. Where it barely made it made its money back, but it didn't really create a big hit. Um,
Yeah.
Fincher says, David Fincher, director, says that part of the reason Fight Club failed was the marketing is far more about like the Fight Club aspect of it, which isn't really that big of a movie part. It doesn't play that big of a
Yeah.
part in the movie. But he said, "quote It's a little too WWF," which is so crazy to talk about the zeitgeist of the time because that was the height of popularity for the WWF was 98, 99 when Fight Club is coming out. So, or at least during that time period. So it's interesting to hear him say something like that.
Yeah.
But Fight Club as an adapted screenplay, that is a complete mind melding, beautiful film to watch when you're just like, holy shit, didn't see that one coming. It and to not even get a nomination. I don't know if it deserves to win, because 99 is one of those years that I was looking at all the movies nominated and I went, I have very little knowledge on this. I'm going to speak on what I'm knowledgeable about, and that's it.
Well, 99 is one of the movie years that people widely consider one of the best movie years in film history.
I mean, there's a lot of heavy hitters here for things that are popular that I like.
Yeah, there's like a lot of movies that people love in 99. So, yeah, and Fight Club just pretty much just got shut out. I don't think they got a single nomination.
No, they did, which I think is a travesty.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, the
Was that it for your technical stuff?
that was it for me. To take us to yours.
I only had a couple more. I had score. I would have picked The Phantom Menace over The Red Violin.
I didn't even look at score, but yes.
I have never seen The Red Violin, and that's not to say, like, obviously I can't say with authority, but The Phantom Menace, you can say whatever you want about that movie, but that score is iconic. Everyone knows it.
Are we talking Duel of the Fates?
Yeah.
Duel of the Fates is one of the best pieces of movie music ever made. Like, Duel of the Fates immediately captures the mind, the imagination, the attention span, and the heart of a listener. Where you can hate Star Wars, but you can't hate Duel of the Fates.
Yeah,
you just can't.
Exactly. And then I said I actually think Phantom Menace also deserved a nomination for art direction.
I agree with that. I didn't go into that one as much. That oddly enough, the one I started defending in technical categories was Attack of the Clones, a little bit further down the road, but that's a different story.
Oh God!
It's for technical categories. It has nothing to do with writing or anything like that. It's only for technical categories, because that movie is bad.
Right.
It's bad. It's bad at its job. So I'm not defending the quality of the film in terms of story, acting, writing, anything like that. But we'll get into that a little bit later. But I mean, do you have any beef with any of the big 5 or 6 that we generally talk about?
So the big 6, you got Sam Mendes for director, American Beauty, Kevin Spacey actor, American Beauty, actress Hilary Swank, Boys Don't Cry, best supporting actor Michael Caine, The Cider House Rules, and best supporting actress Angelina Jolie for Girl Interrupted. I had one change there. Do you have any changes?
No, I don't know any of those films enough to really take anything out. The movies I know of 99 are not. We're not talking big performances here, you know.
I wanted to change the Kevin Spacey one, but I do admit, like, Kevin Spacey is a great actor. Like,
again, we covered it last week. In terms of just looking at the quality for the sake of these shows, you have to remove the actor from the art, because he's a shit human being. But in terms of when we didn't know that and he's being awarded these things, he's a phenomenal actor. So
exactly, yeah. I only changed the best supporting actor. I would have went Michael Clark Duncan for The Green Mile.
I thought about
over Michael Caine. Michael Caine, this was actually his second win. He also won Best Supporting Actor for Hannah and Her Sisters in '86, I want to say.
Okay.
That's the one he couldn't go to the Oscars for because he was filming Jaws 4. Great movie. Yeah. And then also, it should be noted that Sam Mendes won Best Director on his first ever full-length feature.
That's pretty impressive.
Yes, it is.
There's a reason it's a big deal when he directs something.
Yeah, he was kind of like, I don't say prodigy, but like, he had a lot of help from Steven Spielberg when he came into the industry.
Gotcha.
Okay, so for Best Picture, the actual nominees, you have the winner, American Beauty. Other nominees, The Cider House Rules, The Insider, The Green Mile, The Sixth Sense.
Sixth Sense got a Best Picture nom?
Yep. What have you seen? What have you not seen?
I've watched the majority of the Green Mile.
Okay.
It's one of those growing up in our time frame. You always find pieces of it on cable, you know. So
Yeah.
so I've seen plenty of that, which is why the only one I thought about toying with was Michael Clark Duncan is so good in the Green Mile, but I just couldn't speak to
Yeah.
the other performances. So I was like, I can't, in good faith, change a winner. I can give a nomination and not know as
Sure.
much, but I can't change a winner without knowing at least some of the other things in the categories. Uh, Other than that, sadly, Sixth Sense, you know enough clips, you've seen it. That's the second most amount of film I've seen of the Big Five that get nominated.
Hmm.
So I'm like, yeah, okay.
Oh, oh, real quick, just to jump back to the Big Five or Big Six, I forgot to mention a couple shout outs I wanted to give.
Yeah.
Um, Ron Livingston for Best Actor in Office Space.
Interesting.
Fantastic. And then also Reese Witherspoon for Best Supporting Actress for Election. And then also Edward Norton for Fight Club.
Fair.
Couple
All are
shout
great.
outs.
All are great.
Yeah.
And it's a very interesting batch. You are correct that the quality of 99 is insane.
Yeah.
Do you have any beef with Best Picture?
I own I actually changed my winner and I made one change in nominee. So I took out the Cider House Rules and I put in Being John Malkovich, which is this really, really weird. Honestly, it's just weird. That's like the perfect word to describe it. It's
Okay.
just weird. But it's really fun. And then I changed my winner from American Beauty to The Sixth Sense. I know The
Wow.
Sixth Sense. It's not that much of a rewatchable movie,
It is
but the
not.
first time when you first watch it,
And you have no
it's a great
spoilers.
movie.
And you have no spoilers.
Yes,
It's a big thing. And I
yes,
think that inherently when if the big twist ending is what the whole thing is about and you know the big twist ending and there's not a
yeah,
watchability factor to it, it really hurts the film's quality because
yes,
you can't go in and go, I shouldn't say film's quality, but you should be able to go watch a great film and still think it's a great film after you watch it
yeah.
the second time from the first
And
time.
somehow I avoided it, the spoiler.
Yeah, I have no idea
So
how because everybody and their mother fucking talked about that goddamn
yeah,
twist.
I think I saw it when I was first probably like I don't know 11, 12 maybe, and
Okay.
somehow I just avoided it. Oh, also I wanted to mention that I have my list of Best Picture winners that I've seen. Everything moving forward, I've seen.
Okay.
Um, so I can give my ratings of all the Best Picture nominees.
Fair
So
enough.
American Beauty, I gave a 6.5. Cider House Rules, I gave a 6. 6 being like middle of the road. That's perfectly average.
Okay.
What I describe a 6 as is it's a film.
That's sad for a lot of movies to in your best picture category to be around
Oh,
the average mark.
there's a lot of them. Um,
It's really sad.
Green Mile, yeah, Green Mile, The Insider, and The Sixth Sense, I all gave 7.5.
Okay.
So they're about comparable to each other, I would say. But on a first time viewing, I think The Sixth Sense really, really puts it above. But yeah, on rewatch, I mean, that movie's like a 5 on rewatch.
Yeah, you got to protect the twist if you want that movie to be
Yeah.
impactful. But nonetheless, good stuff. What is your favorite what we as we did last time, what's your favorite movie from 1999?
I think I would probably say, probably The Green Mile.
Okay. Very different
Yeah.
from what I'm about to tell you, so
No, I take that back. The Mummy.
you do love The Mummy.
I
You
can rewatch The Mummy all day.
that was one of your favorites that has stuck as one of your
Yeah.
favorites. You really enjoy The Mummy. I will give a few here. There's this weird mesh period where there's a lot of mood watching for me. Overall, my definite favorite from '99 is Sleepy Hollow. That's
Sure.
that's just Tim Burton with a budget, baby, and that's all.
Yeah.
That's what I love.
That's a fun movie too.
It's really fun, and it's an easy watch. It's just under the 2 hour mark. It moves quick. There's not a lot of fat on that movie.
Hmm.
However, I will say Galaxy Quest is up there for me. I love Galaxy Quest.
Sure. Sure.
I certainly a guilty pleasure that I loved as a child, not knowing it wasn't that good. I do adore Wild Wild West. That was a huge movie for the two of us growing up. I adore Wild Wild
Yep.
West. It's still hilarious to think Will Smith took Wild Wild West and turned down The Matrix so he could do Wild Wild West. It's one of those that
Yeah.
you're like, ooh. And frankly,
Oh,
all due respect to Keanu Reeves, I think that franchise is probably a lot better overall if Will Smith is
yeah.
involved in it because Will Smith is a better
Yeah.
producer and won't allow his shit to suck.
I think it should also be noted. I think both of us don't like the Matrix as much as other people our age.
That's very true. We don't
Yeah.
understand it as much. I went back and watched it and I was like, okay, I get why it was important at the time,
Exactly.
but it's one of those that I feel it's a kind of a Sixth Sense kind of thing, in which if you watch it first run as it's coming out, it will blow your fucking mind.
Yeah.
If you go back and watch it because, when Matrix came out, I was just about to turn 7. It's not as if
Hmm.
this was a movie that I was going to go to the theater to watch. So I didn't watch The Matrix until maybe, I don't even know, maybe a couple years ago. And I watched it, I was like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Same here.
it's a good action movie. But that's as far as I went. I didn't think it was like.
Yeah.
And then I will also send a special shout out, and I'm still tracking down the cards from it. Gotta give some love to Pokemon the first movie. That is that is
Ah.
the crowning. That is the crowning of this becoming the biggest media franchise on the planet. Part of that is that first movie, even though the first movie is not good. It's part of the
I remember
phenomenon.
it being okay.
So here's the thing. I enjoy it, and I love going back and watching the remake that Netflix did, where they did almost a shot for shot remake. They just updated the animation of it. It's just I remember the phenomenon. It was part of it was
Yeah.
it was like in a weird way, Pokemon was like mini Beatles mania. It was just like
Kinda.
you could not escape Pokemon at the time. And that's why I
Yeah.
had to mention it because like in a weird way, except for Star Wars The Phantom Menace, you could say in terms of societal impact, Pokemon the first movie has a chance to be the biggest impactor of 99. Not that it deserves that because of quality, but because of the overall global
Eh,
and
the Matrix.
phenomenon of it. Pokemon's got an argument, and that's insane to think about. Plus, you still got to go track down those first movie cards. I'm so pissed that I let those ones go. I'm gonna be getting those soon. So they're not overly expensive right now, but it's far more expensive when you went to the theater and like here's your things. Went to
Oh,
that movie for someone's 7th birthday party or 8th birthday
nice.
party.
One final note on 99. American Beauty was the first non-period piece, non-historical epic to win since 91, since Sons of the Lambs won.
Yeah, it's very noticeable that
So 8 years. Yeah.
those period pieces will get you in the Oscar category.
Yep.
Now, before we go to 2000s, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back, folks. The year 2000.